Welcome to the Leadership is Female podcast. Brooke Ellenberger. She is Vice President of Ticketing at the Tennessee Titans. We're so pumped to have you.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here today, Emily.
My pleasure. So tell us who you are and what you do.
So Brooke Ellenberger, Vice President of Ticketing for the Tennessee Titans, and that encompasses all of our ticket sales, ticket services, premium sales and service, and our ticket operations.
So you've got an interesting story, I thought, in how you got there. You've been with the organization for 8 years. What has that story looked like to land you in Tennessee?
Sure. So I started, graduated from Clemson, started with a internship at a minor league hockey team, and was able to rotate around, to each of the departments and kind of understand what I might like or what I might want to do. And I had no idea there were that many options within sports at that point. Went back to school, graduated, and got a part-time ticket sales job with the New Orleans Saints and moved to New Orleans. Really got my feet wet, understood what the sports industry was like, what selling tickets was like. Was fortunate, 6 weeks later, got a full-time job there. So that was really great. It was a great opportunity for me. And then I decided I was ready to kind of take the next step. And so I moved to Houston, got a job with the Houston Astros in Major League Baseball. And it was quite a difference. 83 home games was big difference from 10 home games. But I loved it. Everything was fast paced, as you prepared, there was a game the next night. And so you had to really stay on your toes, and move fast. And so, throughout my time, I worked at least 800 games. So you really gain an understanding, and you start to learn how everything works, and you begin to play a part in the strategy and ticket pricing and how we can sell out the building better. And so, all those things I just learned throughout my time there. And then was fortunate someone I'd worked with at the Astros knew somebody at the Titans and told me about a position that was open here. And so I applied for that position, and been Vice President of Ticketing here for 8 years.
Yeah, and you have only 3 stops in your 23-year career, which I find astounding in this industry. So why do you think that's the case? Why have you stayed with organizations for so long? And how did you know when it was time to move? What was that deciding factor?
I've been really fortunate to work with and for some amazing people, and that's helped me along in the journey and helped me understand a lot of that. I will always be the first to tell you that my jump from the Saints was early. If I'd had somebody kind of helping me along the way or understood more about the industry, I probably would have stayed there a little longer. I think as you get further in your career, you understand what being patient looks like, what opportunities may come available that may not be available today, as organizations grow, or as people take on other opportunities. It creates different paths for you. And I think early in my career, Mike Stanfield at the Saints and Jackie Trawick at the Astros, very early, they saw something in me that I'm not quite sure I saw myself at that point. And so they continued to give me responsibility. And it was a while before I understood, okay, this is something I can really make a career out of. This isn't going to just be a job for me. And so fortunate that I had folks like that saw that in me and wanted to continue to give me responsibility. But I would say throughout my time at the Astros, it was we continued to grow. The industry continued to change. We went to digital ticketing and strategy and dynamic ticket pricing. So there were a lot of things throughout the industry that changed that allowed us to grow and allowed me to continue to learn new things as well.
You mentioned patience. Do you think that's something you were born with, a skill you developed, something that your mentors helped shine on you? It's really paid into your career to be patient, do the work, and then the opportunity has come.
I would say in general, I'm not a very patient person. So this has been something that's just kind of a learned, you know, and I have great parents that kind of helped me along the way and helped me see things as I was explaining to them, like, well, maybe there's other opportunity, maybe there's reason behind some of this. And so that certainly helped me. And I think I've always enjoyed what I do. And so I think that gave me that extra level of patience in terms of really loving what I do every day. And so I didn't want to stop doing that. And so so I think that helped a little bit.
Well, let's talk a little bit about ticket sales. What do you think are the three key ingredients to succeeding in this vertical of the sports industry?
Confidence, persistence, and charisma. So I feel like you just have to be confident in yourself and what you're selling. Otherwise, no one else is really going to believe you and purchase what it is that you're trying to, to get them to buy. Persistence, being willing to follow up, to do the extra work, to write a handwritten note, to understand that you're going to get some no's along the way, and to be able to continue on and pick up and move on to the next person. And charisma, you just have to be able to, people want to be able to relate to you, and once they can relate to you and you build that relationship, that creates that creates a better buying experience. It makes it a little easier along the way.
How do you teach confidence, persistence, and charisma to all the reps that are working underneath you right now at the Titans?
Confidence, I think the easiest way to show that is to try to chart out, in general, it takes this many no's to get there, and then really celebrating those successes and those first sales, and building on. I think also in the confidence bucket is making sure the leads we're providing are good leads, and they're the people they're reaching out to, that they're fans and they have an opportunity to purchase. Persistence, it's kind of creating some processes and putting those in place. How many times you should reach out to someone, until it's time to move on. And then charisma, that's a hard one to teach. That's just, I think you can learn that from those around you, as others see success and you look to emulate them. Some of that can come through, but it is hard to like sit down with someone side by side and saying, here's how we're gonna get some better charisma. So it is hard to teach that, but I think it is something they can learn from others around them.
Yeah, absolutely. Creating that dynamic where you're sharing that success as well, and you're seeing the processes on how other people get it done, has that final link to the charisma piece. You're putting more of your energy and your personality and your own swing to the sale when you believe in the product and you've seen success.
Exactly.
So as a woman in this industry, a woman in ticket sales, and I think we're getting better with the percentage of women working in this vertical.
Yes.
But are there any challenges that you face that you feel our listeners could learn from hearing about?
I really don't have a lot of challenges that I've faced in the industry in terms of being female. I think the challenges that I faced were related more to being young and trying to just get your feet wet and understand how everything works and best way to be successful, and what that means, what that means for your boss, what that means for you. And so for me, so many of my challenges just came from being young and green and not really having an understanding of how everything works.
Yeah, and I want to tell our listeners that you and I talked about this question before I hit
Yes.
record, and you were like, Emily, I don't really have any like woman related challenges. And my response was, that's fantastic. Like,
Yes.
let's tell the story that there's not always something that you encounter as a hurdle because you're a woman or you feel that it's because of you're a woman. And I think what Brooke can do here today is really shine a light on the fact that she hasn't had that challenge in her career. And, maybe there was some other cause for a hurdle. And, early it's hard being young in this industry. You
Yes.
don't know what you don't know. And believe it or not, there's a pretty big learning curve to kind of getting in the flow of things. So has there been the biggest hurdle or the biggest circumstance that you've had to overcome in your career to get to the next level?
I feel like everyone might use this one now, but COVID was just the biggest challenge that I think I've faced in my career. We went from, oh, we're just going to be home for 2 weeks to it being this long, drawn out thing. We didn't know if we were going to have a football season. We didn't know if we were going to have fans. If we did have fans, what was the protocol going to look like? And so it was just this constant unknown. And throughout most of my career in ticket sales, you sell the tickets, people show up, the game is played, and all things considered, there's a pretty controllable environment there, and this was completely uncontrollable. And I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about my teammates, and how we can kind of work together, even through Zoom and working at home. But it was certainly a challenge, and something I try to look at the ways that we improved through that, but it was a hard time.
What's crazy is I ask this question a lot, the biggest hurdle question, because I think there's a lot that we can learn in that reflection. And it's not until now, this new season of the podcast, and we're in early 2023, that COVID has been identified as the hurdle.
Really?
And I feel like what that means is we finally feel like we're on the other side of it, where
Yes.
we're not dealing with protocols and attendance percentages and COVID communications to our fan base, protocols in the office. Like we're sort of finally on the other side of that. Do you think that's true?
I do think that's true. So I think part of being a hurdle is being able to get to the other side.
Yeah.
And now that we can kind of talk about it in the past, I think it's something that we can kind of recognize as a hurdle, and we made it through it. And now we can gain those learnings and be better moving forward.
How do you think it's changed sports organizations having gone through this really long period of time? I also thought it would be 2 weeks.
I think it's made us more flexible. It certainly pushed so many things digital for fans, and fans have now embraced it. There's an understanding there. And I think that has helped a lot of our communication, because it's instantaneous, and that certainly helps, allows us to be flexible. We have a lot of staff here that have children, and children are sick, and still gives you an opportunity to kind of work from home, and there's an understanding there. And I think just in general, that flexibility of making sure your family is taken care of. I think we refocused a bit in the sports world. I think we've gone a little far from that. Like, as much as you can work, the better you're going to be, and the further you're going to progress. And I think it's shifted a little bit to make the most of your time. And if you need to pull your laptop out when you get home, do that. But have family time, and make sure you're involved with your family as well.
Yeah, you mentioned the digital piece as a COVID aftershock, and so many teams weren't distributing digital tickets. We were doing paper and the box office, and wow, that really fast forwarded those changes in ticketing for most organizations.
It really did. It really did.
Do you still deliver season ticket holder like boxes or with the tickets? Like how do you guys handle that?
So we no longer print and ship tickets. We do have an end of year gift that we send to everyone. So so there is something that comes from us, something that commemorates the season in some way. Recently we've done a large photo book that kind of gives them like snapshots of every single game. So that way they have something to remember every single game, something they can kind of put their hands on and hang on to.
That's really cool. That's also a process that's changed in the office, that boxing process or the design process to put the season tickets and that delivery together, or a pickup party for those members it's now a different experience.
It's different. Yes.
Yeah,
it's very
for
different.
sure. Okay. How do you think that your own self-confidence has played into your success?
I think it's been huge. I'm grateful to have played youth and high school sports, and the other athletes and coaches that, instilled that confidence in me. I think you have to be able, you have to be confident to join conversations. You don't want to sit back whether you agree, you disagree, you want to add a point to it. You've got to have confidence to be able to do that. And sometimes offer an alternate view that might not be the most popular view. And also just confidence to overcome mistakes. You're going to make a mistake, and how can you learn from that, grow from that, never let that happen again, and not let it just crumble you, so that you can no longer move forward. So I'm fortunate, to kind of have that started in childhood, and I think it's helped me along the way.
Yeah, I think so many of us, our youth sports experience is what really launched us as people and launched that confidence journey. I know now you're a CrossFitter. Does that help you carry that forward?
It does. So it gives me, confidence to, kind of handle the day. It's a good stress reliever for me, which is always nice, to kind of, work out in the morning. And so to kind of come into the day, I've already been up for hours. I'm ready to go. So that certainly, enhances that confidence. You come in ready to hit the ground running.
So I think that confidence is an ingredient in willpower. Do you think personal willpower has been another really big aspect of your personality that's helped you succeed and to really be in a high position as VP?
Absolutely. I think, willpower has pushed me along. I never want to turn something in and say, oh, it's good enough. And that willpower just pushing me to make sure everything is, all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. And, from the CrossFit standpoint, that willpower to get up early to, kind of do that before I make it in, because I know myself well, and I know when I'm at the end of the day, I'm done. So, so to get that workout in, I think that aspect of willpower has really, really helped me as well.
What do you think goes into developing that? Like what's happening, you think, in your brain and your body that's saying like, okay, Brooke, like we committed to getting up early and doing CrossFit, and then we have this big day at work. Like what is sort of that tipping point inside of you to make you stick with that plan?
I think there's a couple things for me. If it's a big day at work, like I'm excited. And so, knowing that if I go get in a good workout prior to, that's going to help me be better throughout the day. And also have friends that I work out with. And so when I don't show up, they give me a hard time. So that certainly adds to it as well. But it is difficult sometimes to get up that early, or to, be ready, or be available all day long. And so it is hard to learn. I don't know if there's one specific thing I could point to that really helps that, except having a plan. For me, if I have a plan, my plan is to get up early, and then I know what my day looks like. A plan really helps me kind of stick to it.
Yeah, what you really said there was have a plan, have a community, and be excited about
Yes,
what you get to do
exactly.
are the that's the recipe for your willpower. I love it.
Exactly.
And so speaking of willpower and pushing yourself to go beyond where you already are, I think that really applies to looking for a job, looking for a new job.
Yeah.
And as someone who's hired probably countless individuals in your career, can you share hiring tips? How do you find sellers and have those sellers to fill the seats that you've got open in your company, and then succeed within your organization?
Um, that is always, one of the most challenging things that we do is to find the right person that can not only do the job, but fit in with our culture and understand who we are. So one of my tips that I like is to start an interview off asking like some fun questions, like what's your biggest pet peeve, or what do your friends make fun of you about, like something that just kind of brings them down a notch. As I don't think it matters how many interviews you go into, you're always nervous. And so we try to, bring them down a bit. We want to learn about them, who they are as a person, and then, are they capable of doing the job? And so, in terms of hiring the right sales staff, it's hard, especially as we've kind of gone to this Zoom environment. I feel like it's really shortened interview windows in terms of the amount of time we would spend with folks. So that's made it a little more challenging. Past experience, knowing what these folks have done for us. We have an inside sales program. So that certainly helps as we can get college graduates in, teach them how we do things, so they have an understanding of not just ticket sales, but the way we do things at the Titans. And when a full-time position comes open, they're really geared up and ready to kind of take that next step.
How do you find culture fit? Especially you mentioned all this hiring we're doing over Zoom. It's harder to read a person when they're not like right in front of you. So how do you best identify that fit?
We ask a couple of questions and have them rank like priorities. And maybe all of their priorities are a one, but we make, having them, kind of sort things and give us kind of some ideas on what's important to them. And then we kind of ask some questions about their current office environment, what they like, what they don't like, some things they like about the folks they work with. So I think, just kind of digging in and seeing how they respond to some of those questions really helps us out.
Yeah. And I think also being consistent with the questions that you're asking. So having similar conversations with each candidate is really important, especially when you've developed those questions that are really specific to your organization.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Those are great, great tips. So then once they get hired, what do you feel are the keys to managing these employees?
So definitely a lesson I learned the hard way. Each person wants to be managed differently. I think early on my approach was to manage people the way I would want to be managed, and we're all different. We all have we all want to receive opportunities for improvement better. We all want to receive encouragement better or differently. And so really understanding the person, understanding how they respond, what works best for them. And it's a little bit of a process, getting to know folks and getting to understand their, how they operate. they can't always articulate that to tell you. And so some of it's a little trial and error and figuring that out. And then, I think another key is creating clear outcomes. And so for me, I try really hard to not explain A to Z and just explain A and Z, so that people have the creativity to get to the end goal, however they see fit. And sometimes that's a learning experience for them, and always be available for questions and to kind of guide along the way. But as I manage, senior directors and vice presidents, also it is, they want to be creative, and they want to learn how to, kind of navigate these situations. And then I think the third one for me is clear communication, which is harder than it sounds. Communication is not only, what you say, it's also what the person hears. And so making sure there's an understanding that happens in a conversation versus, running through a list or just saying what's on my mind. So, and those are all things that, like, I certainly am not perfect at all the time, and learn and grow throughout my career now, continue to learn and grow. But those are a few of the things that I think are really important.
Yeah. Brene Brown says clarity is kindness. And that saying gave me so much permission to be more clear with the people that I managed in ways that might have felt a little bit uncomfortable before, like maybe just for me, maybe not for them,
Right.
but it was like the way that I was perceiving the conversation. But in the end of the day, like if I'm clear about the expectations or the outcomes that are expected, that gives them the room to succeed. No one's going to win if you're holding back.
Right.
Yeah.
That's hard. That's a hard lesson to learn.
It is for sure, because when you know the thing, but you don't say the thing, and then they do what they're not supposed to do, you're like, that's on me.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, let's talk about Nashville.
Yeah.
So your city has been on fire for the last several years. Yes. What makes Nashville so great? And then to tack on top of that, I want to talk about what makes the Titans so great.
Yeah, so Nashville is just a city full of really friendly people. I think that helps. An inviting group of people here. And there is always something to do here. That just, all things considered, mild climate, so we can be outside the majority of the year and be comfortable. And so I think that just kind of adds to the allure. There's so many things to do, and but whether it's a sports venture, being out and hiking, going to Broadway, there's just a number of things that that you can spend your time doing, and there's plenty for all ages. I think that's really critical as families move here. I think that's important too.
And then what makes the Titans so great?
I got here in 2015, and right before I started, Amy Armstrong took over as controlling owner. And she's just changed the organization in such a positive way. We've been provided a tremendous amount of resources. Our department has grown from 7 full-time people, and now we're up to 45 people. So throughout time, she's trusted us, and she's given us these resources to allow us to be successful. And it's just this top-down mentality of kindness for everybody, but also there's execution that needs to happen, and there's a way to do things, and so it's just a really great organization from the top down, and that's where we get our direction, and so just really fortunate to be here.
So when you're not at work, what fills your time?
So we talked about CrossFit. So I'm a CrossFitter at 5 a.m. So get going really early in the morning. And after that, spend a lot of time with friends here in town. And my family lives a little further away, but now this is the off season, I'll have an opportunity to go visit them. And so I'm really looking forward to that. That'll be a lot of fun to kind of catch up with them after a season.
Do you think you have to be a country music fan to live in Nashville?
No, I think Nashville is really trying to change the country music to just live music. And so there's a variety of music here. There's certainly probably more country music, but there's a variety of music here, and really trying to kind of expand on the country and just be live music here in Nashville.
Yeah, when we did our call before the interview, we talked about Nashville because I'd just been there in the fall for my first time, which is crazy growing up in the Midwest, and Nashville's really not that far away, but great food, great music, and just it was so much fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, so I encourage all of you, jump on a plane.
Yes, absolutely.
Check it out. All right, final 4 questions. Number
Okay.
1, what's one thing women can do today to level up tomorrow?
So I think for me throughout my career is finding that stress reliever, finding something, that outlet. It's different for everyone. We've talked about it a couple of times, as every CrossFitter does, talk about CrossFit a lot. For me, that's CrossFit. For other people, it is going for a walk or just spending time with their family, or whatever that looks like, just preventing burnout and so that you are showing up to be your best self every day. I think that has been one really big thing for me.
Couldn't agree more. I talk about exercise as release constantly.
Yes.
So we are definitely on the same page there. Where are you traveling to next?
I may make a trip in between, but I am definitely headed to the Masters in April. So I'm really excited about that. For some, I've been to the Masters. So I'll hit up Augusta, Georgia here in a couple of months. I'm really excited.
That sounds amazing. My husband is very jealous, I'm sure. That's on the list for
Oh,
the
yes.
Jansen family at some point in time.
Same. This will be my first trip there. So
awesome. Well, you'll have to let us know how it goes.
Yes.
What is your pump up song?
So I've got 2. One is Alicia Keys, This Girl Is on Fire. Really like that one. Good beat, good lyrics. And then I grew up in Rock Hill, South Carolina. And so the Queen song, We Will Rock You, is just one that just always, very nostalgic and brings back a lot of great memories too.
So my 5-year-old loves that song, and I'm coaching his indoor soccer team this season, and we have to listen to it on repeat the entire way to this.
I love it. That's so great.
All right. And what is your favorite quote?
So I have 2. One that I've kind of stuck with. This has been my favorite quote for a long time, and I've got one new addition. So the first one is, the same boiling water that softens a potato hardens the egg. It's not about your circumstances. It's about how you react to them. I feel like we're all in the same offices together. And so people react to situations differently. And, I feel like you have opportunities to react, and how you handle that, says a lot about you, and it gives you further potential opportunity and just learnings. And the second one is the opposite of courage in our society is not cowardice, it's conformity. And that's Rollo May. So just for me, I feel like you have to have your own voice, and you have to know what you believe in. And that may mean you agree with everyone in the room, and that may mean you don't. But having the ability to to communicate that in a friendly way, and not throw people off, I think is really, really important.
So this is why I love the quote question. Neither one of those have been mentioned before. And
Really?
both of those made me stop like in
Yes.
my tracks and think. Those are fantastic. Thank you for bringing those to the audience. All right. Well, this has been a wonderful conversation about career growth, about sales, management, hiring. I mean, you really nailed it. And I can't thank you enough for sharing your voice and your wisdom with us on the Leadership is Female podcast.
Thank you so much, Emily. I appreciate it.